Hi Shane, how are you?
Hey Matthew, how you going?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Just want to say thanks for taking time out and speaking to me today. I know you got a lot going on. Much appreciated.
It's a pleasure.
Great. Okay, we'll just get into it then. Both Christmas movies and animated films are not really fixtures in Aussie cinema. Did Santa's Apprentice both contribute in your decision to want to take on the role as Santa Claus?
Look, to be honest, it was like, I guess, all projects start, although, seldom do they turn up on your desk with the words animated feature across the top. But it's one of those things where, with every project, once you get told you've been considered for a role, first and foremost, if you're available time-wise, which I was, you go, look, even though it's a Christmas story, which how could they be a bad story, if you know what I mean? They're all going to be full of fun and joy, but you still want to make sure it's the right sort of story. You say, send us the script and we'll have a read. I read the script and like most projects, and if not all projects that I decide to do as an actor, and most do, once you start to read the script, if you find yourself in a rush to turn the page, you know you're onto a good thing. Being that this was a Christmas film, my only concern at the outset was, Christmas is the one thing that all of us, no matter how old or young, but in particular for older people, it's the one constant that you've looked forward to every year from the day you remember.
Yep.
From the very first memories you've got, you remember looking forward to Christmas. And then as we become parents, we look forward to our kids' faces at Christmas. And as we become grandparents, look forward to watching our kids with their kids at Christmas and being around them.
Yep.
And so it's the one story that you kind of figure, gosh, is this just going to be the same story, whether it be the Scrooge version of it or, the same kind of Christmas story just rehashed. And I started reading it, and I'm not sure how much you know about the story of the film, but it's about, it poses the question, when I say poses the question, it starts the story of how long is Santa, and if Santa has to retire at some point, because although Santa's lived for a very long time, if it's time to choose an apprentice, where do they get that person from?
Yep.
And at that point I went, this is fascinating. This is, as far as a Christmas story, this is such a different story, and one that I've never heard. And so at that point when I read it, I went, great, it's a great story, it's so original, it's Australian because it turns out that the apprentice for Santa is going to be a young boy called Nicholas from Australia.
Yep.
It was back where cartoons began, and I'm sure your readers would agree that hand-drawn cartoons was where the world of animation began.
Definitely.
And look, the three most important things for any project, be it theatre, be it television, be it film, be it animation or otherwise, I've always said the three most important ingredients are a good story, and a good story.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. And so whether it be told through animation or not, it's a great story. But I just love the fact that this was going to be right back to when most of your readers would agree, to when the true world of sort of make-believe came to life for many of us was in hand-drawn animation through people like Disney. Yeah. And this ticks all those boxes. It's a great story for kids to watch, for grandparents and parents to go and take grandchildren and children too. It's about kids being pure of heart. It's a Christmas story. It's hand-drawn, where it all began, and drawn by animators right here in our great country.
Your Santa Claus voice, very different to your own. Did it take some time to find the voice that you wanted to portray the character?
It's one of those things, mate, where very quickly, when I realised I wanted to play this, that you just go, Santa Claus, you don't want to go recreating him. I mean, he's the one superstar that he's been a constant, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Santa Claus, like as I said, for all of us, no matter how old you are, we know him. He's been in our shopping centres. He's been on TV. He's been, shown to us ever since day one for all of us. So you don't want to recreate him too much. And to be quite honest, I think, the expression that always gets bandied around about life or about personalities is to sing like no one can hear, and as we know, dance like no one's watching, and love like you'd never been hurt. Well, I think with Santa Claus, I think he laughs. The difference with him is I think he laughs like he wants the whole world to hear. Mm-hmm. And I realise the trick with him is just to let it all go. And dare I say, and I know your audience would know that the thing that I think Santa encapsulates is like a great grandparent or an uncle or an auntie that truly engage with kids. It's like, and I know that they're seldom around now like they used to be, but those milk bar owners that particularly in country towns, I think they still exist, but in some city locations, there were those milk bar owners that when a kid came in with a 10-cent coin or a 5-cent coin, and that milk bar owner realised for the next minute or two, they're not going to be handing out milk and bread. They're going to become Willy Wonka for the next minute or two. And they got to go to this kid, and what do you have? You've got, and they just let it all out. The same as the best grandparents and uncles and aunties, or just, older figures that we'd met. In some cases, in my world, it was my uncles and aunties, but also I had friends' parents who were just great. And like I say, grandparents do it so well at just engaging with the kids. But they realise to a kid the world is so joyous. Like, how does a bird fly, and where does chocolate come from, and how does that aeroplane stay in the sky, And when they've got those minds, I love that grandparents, parents, sometimes we get so busy we can say to our kids, how was school this week, mate? But when a grandparent asks, and that's what I think Santa does, they go, and how was school this week? Like, they're so excited for them. And I think, so when it came to finding the voice of Santa, I just realised I've got to be excited about every word, every question, because Santa's world is the world of children and the toys that he makes for them and eventually takes to them. So I just realised it's about just being so involved in every word and emotionally involved, and that's just about being loud and animated.
Your career has expanded into a lot of different areas. Was it always your goal to do a lot of different things with your career?
Yeah, definitely. Quite often people say, I do film, I do, both normal film and animated, television, and I do live performance. I've done radio and I do comedy, and, I do all that sorts of things, and I've danced and done all that. And, people do say, if you have to pick between film, television, theatre and the corporate world, which one would you pick? And I always say I have actually chosen, and it's just that I've chosen all of them. And it is like being a parent of multiple children. They're all got very different personalities, but I love them all to bits.
Yep. Kenny really launched you into the stratosphere. What memories do you still have of going through such a life-changing time?
Well, it's funny, I was on the radio this morning and doing a radio show, and they launched a young girl was given a chance on that radio show, and they even dialed Molly Meldrum and had him listen to it over the radio and said, what do you think of this kid who's working here in the radio station, who just happens to be here on a sort of, she's a trainee publicist, journo, and she's here just getting coffees and helping out around the radio station. But I'll say it was Eddie Maguire who heard her voice singing and just said, you're amazing, and that's what a voice. She said, that's kind of my dream, and she gave him a CD, and he played it on the radio. And they said, hang on, we're going to stop the show, we're going to play that, come in, sit down, stop making coffees and helping out. We've got Molly Meldrum about to ring in to talk about some things, and we're going to get him to listen to it and see what he thinks. He heard it and said it was wonderful, and said live on air, I want to contact this girl, I want to meet this girl and listen to some more of her work before I head off overseas this week. And I saw her eyes light up, and she became quite emotional. And she, off air, she actually became quite teary. And what I loved seeing in her was that moment that you go, this could all change for you from this moment forward. Like, your life, the dreams that only used to occur in your mind at night when you laid on your pillow may in fact become the reality of what you wake up to every day. And so to answer your question, I love seeing that today, because I remember when me and my brother were standing advertising, we'd finished the film Kenny, and we were putting up flyers and posters outside the AFIs, in splashdown toilets and around the AFI Awards, watching Russell Crowe rehearse him emceeing the AFI Awards.
Yep.
And my brother said that the film was going pretty well at that point, as in it had been being received well and hadn't been released yet. And he said, I reckon you'll be up there one day. We'll be up there. And fast forward, a year or two later, I was up there getting an award, and then fast forward to 2 years beyond that, or beyond that, I hosted the AFIs last year.
Yeah.
So it's funny that, my dreams became my daily job, you know. So for me, the best memories were those moments when me and my brother would daily ring each other and go, it's going really well in the cinemas, it's still making more money, and people are going to see it.
Yeah.
It was, looking back on it now, it felt at the time it was moving very fast, but I look back on it and realise it was fast, but I have so many memories. And at the time, it was like a runaway train. But I look back and I remember every individual moment where you go, "Oh my God, it's gone the next step."
Yeah.
But I think at the moment that I stood there with my brother and he grabbed me, put his arm around my shoulders and said, "You'll be up there one day," was the first time ever I'd actually accepted it may be a reality.
What is Christmas like at the Jacobson household?
It's very loud. It's a lot of fun. It's filled with voices, giggles, and laughter, and it's very loud. But it's family with a million stories all being told one on top of the other.
Yep. And just the last question here. In regards to actor you worked with, Paul Hogan, what was the experience like of working with someone such an esteemed comedian such as himself?
It was a pinch yourself daily moment. He was fantastic. He couldn't have been nicer to me. He was so generous with his time and with advice, and he kept saying, "I have no advice for you other than to keep doing what you're doing and stay yourself," which I thought was wonderful. It was the greatest compliment I could ever have been given, because you kind of look at someone like him and go, "Have you got any advice?" And he said, "My only advice is don't stop being yourself. People are enjoying you because you are yourself."
Yep.
But it was one of the greatest blocks in my entertainment career. That 2 months acting every day alongside Paul Hogan was as good as I could ever have imagined and or hoped. And he was just a diamond of a man.
I'll try to fit one more question in. Do you have a favourite Christmas movie?
To be quite honest, they're all the animated Disney ones. When I was a kid, it wasn't so much the proper features. It was all the animated ones. And there was, funnily enough, the Scrooge one I think they did with Donald Duck. But it was all the animated Disney cartoons that would happen around Christmas. I just couldn't get enough. Yep. It was for my, cartoons were for my eyes what lollies were for my belly.
Yeah. And is there one specific cartoon that stands out for you?
I think there was. I'm sure it was the Donald Duck Scrooge version.
Yeah.
And I think it was just Donald Duck Scrooge Christmas show, wasn't it? I think that was, when I was a kid, that was when I remembered the most.
Yep.
I'm sure it was the Disney characters all telling the Scrooge story, and I'm sure it was the Donald Duck Scrooge. I've forgotten the name of it.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I'll try to find it.
Yeah. It's I should type it in now. But it was that one used to make me giggle quite a bit actually.
Excellent.
The Christmas tale of Donald Duck as the Scrooge.
Excellent.
Well, involving the Scrooge, but I think they were all him.
Excellent. Okay. And once again, I thank you very much, and best of luck with everything this week as well, mate.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No worries. Take care.
Okay, mate. Take care.